Good afternoon. It's Jeffrey Christian. It's about 3:30 on the afternoon of Monday, the 22nd of April. I'm recording this for release on the 23rd of April with various things going on in our private and personal lives. We're recording this today for tomorrow's release. I could and probably should be talking about the fact that gold, silver, platinum, and palladium prices have fallen sharply today on broad-based profit-taking. Prices have risen very sharply for all of these metals, more so for gold and silver than for platinum and palladium over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and profit-taking has settled in as investors became somewhat less concerned about the state of financial markets on a short-term basis, and they looked at prices that were up, in the case of silver, 33%, in the case of gold, something less than that over, since March 1st, and said, the short-term time, from a short-term investor perspective, let's take some profits. We can always buy back if the price falls down. I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about the Treasury's gold. A little bit of a distraction, but maybe a lot of people need to know it. What I find is that there are still people who think that the Treasury's gold is somehow not been seen, not been reviewed in decades, and it probably isn't even there. They're snake oil salesmen and the people who are so bound up in conspiracy theories that they can't think straight, you know who you are, who think that maybe it's already been transferred to China. And there are people who lie, who talked about seeing army trucks going through the downtown Beijing with U.S. Treasury gold on it. Never happened. We got a comment on a YouTube from, I cried today, last week, said, people who do not understand central banking believe that the Federal Reserve gold has all that gold. Okay, first off, Federal Reserve stores the gold. It belongs to the U.S. Treasury, right? So it's not Federal Reserve gold, it's Treasury gold. But this guy was trying to be nasty to me, and he was actually just showing his own ignorance. Other people responded to him. Pinball Bob said there's no way anyone can know what the U.S. holds in its vaults at Fort Knox. It's a poker game. They don't show their cards. The U.S. isn't turning over its cards. The other people said, well, wait a second, aren't there annual independent third-party audits of the actual holdings at Fort Knox? And another guy said, it's hard to know if your statement was sarcasm or not. But yes, and that's the truth. The Treasury's gold, no one knows for sure. Oh, yes, they do. In fact, there is a wide range of information, which I'm going to review here, including a complete bar list and assay information. And it's free on the internet. This was a hearing that Ron Paul put together in 2011 on his way out the door at the Congress. It's hundreds of pages long. There are 60 some odd pages of assays. There are more than 140 pages of the bar list. It's free to you on the internet. This is a copy of an annual audit that the U.S. Treasury does of its gold. It's free on the internet. If you stop looking at the snake oil salesman telling you that you got to be worried about conspiracies here and there, if you stop listening to people who have been consistently wrong their entire time, and you go on to the good part of the internet and you say, hey, U.S. Treasury gold, you'll find those reports and other things. And you'll find that it's not the U.S. Treasury doing this. There are independent auditors. There is the Office of the Inspector General. There's the General Accounting Office. There is the Congressional Budget Office. There are other groups that all come together to oversee these annual audits and the deep assay. Now, First thing you need to know, and it's public information, you should know it, is how the Treasury stores its gold. And I'll show you a table later. I probably should have put it up here. The gold is stored in several locations. But the gold is stored the bars are in sealed drums, and the sealed drums have signatures on them and dates as to when they were sealed. And those drums are put inside a vault, inside a depository, and then that vault is sealed, and the vault door has seals with signatures and dates on it. So you can see if anybody has gotten into that vault and into that drum to get to those bars. Now, if you really want to know, is the stuff still there, you just have to look at those seals. The seals are not broken. If the seals don't look like they were forged at a later date, chances are those drums weren't opened, the vaults weren't opened. So if you have an accurate reading of the bars inside each vault, then you have some high degree of assurances that the gold's still in there, unless someone somehow or other drilled into the vault from a different place undetected and took it. Total nonsense type stuff. So you have to understand that you don't need to count every bar every year to make sure with a very high degree of assurances that the gold is still there. It's in sealed drums, in sealed vaults, in several locations. There also are those annual audits I just showed you. And there was a bar-by-bar audit and assay that was done took several years to do. It concluded, I believe, around 2008. The assays were actually done in 2008, but the bars where they opened up each vault, opened up each drum, and looked at each bar and said, oh yeah, okay, here's the bar on the list. Here's the bar on the list, and this is the size, and this is the weight. Let's weigh it. Let's make sure it's got the right number, serial number, etc., etc., etc. And they counted each bar. Thousands of bars, 261 million ounces, mostly in 400-ounce bars. And they counted all of them, and they took representative samples, and they took scrapings off of those samples, and they had them assayed. And it's all available. All that information is available for free on the internet to anybody who actually really wants to know the real information about this, instead of listening to liars and cheats and scum. This is the cover, and I apologize, it's U.S. government issued. This is the cover of the hearings from Ron Paul's 2011 testimony. Every bar counted and listed, and assays on samples. Ron Paul was kind of embarrassed. Again, here it is. That report is available on the internet, and you actually can go to Amazon and download a PDF for free. And it's been there since August of 2011. So no one has a good legitimate excuse for saying that no one knows if that gold's still there. Ron Paul, at the beginning of his hearing, said, and it's at the bottom here, only during the preparation of this hearing was my office informed that the Mint has in fact conducted assays of statistically representative samples of the gold bars, and we were provided with a sample assay report. He said that in his opening comments. He had repeatedly called for the U.S. Treasury gold reserves to be accounted for over his 20-year career in the U.S. House of Representatives. He never once asked the Treasury, hey, do you have an audit? He never once went on the internet or had somebody in his office go on the internet and file, USTreasury.gov and find those annual audits. He never asked the Treasury for it. He never went online, never found it. He sat there for 20 years saying this is an outrage. It's an outrage that no one in the Treasury will tell anybody about this information, when in fact it was open and available to the public every year all along. Way to go, our tax dollars at work. On page 62 of his hearings, I apologize that this is not readable, but you can get the thing for free from Amazon or from the internet. This is the U.S. Treasury's cover note on its audits and assays. This is one of the 62 pages on the assay results. This is one of the 144 pages on the audit results, listing every single bar that was checked off of a list and weighed to make sure that it hadn't shrunk. It's just crazy. This is the cover of one of the Treasury's gold inventory reports. These are annual audits, not monthly. The monthly reports come, I'll show you later. These are annual audits by an independent auditing firm, supervised by the Office of the Inspector General, hands off from the U.S. Treasury Administration. Free online. Ronnie Paul could have gotten it at any point in his 20-year career or after that, and so could you. This is an inside page, and you can see they add it all up. Again, this is from the annual audit, not the monthly. I apologize for that. And this is the breakdown of the gold, where it exists in various locations. And again, it's kind of hard to see. I'll have to put this on. You can see the bulk is held in Fort Knox, but there's also 43 million ounces held at the Denver Mint. The West Point Mint facility has 54 million ounces. And then there's 2.8 million ounces, which has been lent to the U.S. Mint on a rolling basis. The Mint is part of the Treasury, and it uses Treasury gold in its working inventories to make gold bullion coins and gold commemorative coins. So they will borrow gold, 2.7, 2.8 million ounces on an ongoing basis for that working inventory. That way they don't have to buy it until they sell the coins. When they sell the coin, each day that they sell a coin, and they sell them in 400-ounce units, they buy a 400-ounce bar in the London market and have it shipped that day to West Point, to its secure facility just outside the fort at West Point. The Treasury keeps that gold in its possession every day. And they don't let the Mint sell gold and not replace it that same day. And the Mint wouldn't want to, because by doing it this way, it's fully hedged. It doesn't have to worry about selling gold coins and then finding that the price has risen $50, and they have to pay $50 more than they just sold it for. By matching the date when they buy the replacement gold to the day that they sell the gold coins, they do it at the same price. Price is $2,350 today. Great. I'm selling 400 ounces. I'm buying 400 ounces at that price, less the margins on either side. They're fully hedged. And the gold stays in the Treasury possession. When it's sold in a coin form, it's immediately repurchased in bullion form. You see, the Federal Reserve banks in New York has some gold. Until a couple decades ago, the Fed would not hold U.S. Treasury gold. That only came along sometime after the 80s. There's gold that's used in displays at the Fed and at some of the depositories. So this is the gold, adds up to 261 million ounces. has a tremendous amount of publicly available data. Should be no surprise. And everybody should know if they did their homework. And if they don't do their homework, they shouldn't be talking about something that they haven't studied. Kind of simple. That's all I have for now. Maybe on Friday I'll talk to you about where the market has been and why it's been and who's been doing the buying. Secret, a little spoiler alert, it hasn't been one entity. It hasn't been China. The gold purchases and profit taking have been very broad based around the world, demographically, geographically, types of investors. It's been a very interesting month or so. Maybe we'll have a chance to catch up on that on Friday, or maybe I'll talk about platinum. It's a lot to talk about these days. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of those around you. See what you can do for the earth. Today's Earth Day when we're recording this. Hopefully you did something nice for the environment. Good day.